disaster. At least that's what I think. Anyway, a cloud seeder, this person who has actually been responsible for running a cloud seeding program, which actually produces rain, is actually now admitting that he was cloud seeding 2 days before the floods. And he wanted to admit that, along with the letting people know that what he was doing had nothing whatsoever to do with the flood. And this came out on NBC News, and they were talking about it. So I'm going to let you hear what they have to say here, and you can give me your comments on it.
Confusing times. You might have seen posts or videos connecting cloud seeding to what is happening in Texas. And then earlier tonight, the CEO of a weather modification company confirmed that planes in Texas did release silver iodide into the atmosphere 2 days before the floods. But he also explained why he says scientifically that does not mean that the two events are connected. Watch this.
We're talking about like sub-centimeter amounts of precipitation, be it in snow or rain from every event, which in aggregate can mean hundreds of acre feet, which is very consequential for farmers and ecosystems, but cannot come close to causing flooding unto itself.
And NBC News climate reporter Chase Kane joins us now. Chase, any conspiracy always starts with like a thread of truth here. Can you explain the science? Like, what is cloud seeding, first off, and how is it being used in Texas?
Yeah, so cloud seeding is really this idea for farmers of like, hey, there's some moisture up there in the clouds. Is there a way that we can get it out of the clouds down here to the surface to help farmers? Because water vapor that's in the air needs something to grab onto, which is often like smaller than the tip of a pen. So you're thinking like pollens, particles of pollen or dust or even air pollution. So you see this graphic here. Basically what they do is they fly planes up there to give the water vapor something to grab onto. So it's a combination of silver iodide and salt, actually. And so the water vapor forms around that. Eventually it gets heavy enough and then falls to the surface of rain. So when that happens, we're talking really small amounts of rain. In fact, scientists have been debating for decades whether or not this is actually very effective to do. So even when it does work, Gotti, we're not talking about a lot of rain, certainly not the amount of rain that they saw in Texas last week.
And the timing of it, 2 days before, I mean, you know, again, anybody online that seems to be an expert these days would say, well, no, this is what, you know, started the flood or possibly like supercharged the soil so it was hydrophobic. Like, take us through the timeline here.
Yeah, that's a really important point, Gotti, because this cloud seeding, it works within like 15 minutes, half an hour, maybe an hour, and then that's it. So that was done 2 days before. So the CEO saying this, other scientific research establishes that cloud seeding isn't going to trigger something like this, certainly not 2 days after they were doing it. They were only up in the air cloud seeding for about 20 minutes because, again, it's targeted to a pretty small area of land, which was not even over where the worst of this flooding was, Gotti. So we're talking 30 minutes to an hour, certainly not 2 days in advance.
And I mean, cloud seeding is human-caused climate change on a very micro level. But when we're talking about climate change on the macro level, does it look like this flood has any links to climate change?
I mean, well, yeah, the kind of apples and oranges here, right? Because cloud seeding is like weather modification, like very hyper local in the moment. Climate change is over a long period of time. And what humans have been doing by burning coal, oil, and gas is that we're making the atmosphere hotter. We're making the oceans hotter. But the hotter we make our atmosphere, it holds more moisture. I mean, that's just basic physics that we've known about for about 200 years. So the climate deniers say, oh, no, there's no way this is possible. But it's actually just basic physics dating back to the 1820s. The hotter we make the atmosphere, the more moisture it holds, and that comes down unevenly. So this group of scientists out of Europe did what's called a rapid attribution report, and they found that this storm was up to 7% wetter. It dumped up to 7% more rain because of climate change, because of those atmospheric physics, again, Gotti, that we've known about for 2 centuries. This is not some new conspiracy theory. This is just basic science.
Okay. So basically they're saying is science is saying that the reason that we had the flooding was because of climate change. And they had a group of people over in Europe who, well, they were the ones who came up with this whole idea. And so they believe that this is why this happened. anyway, I just kind of wanted to get on here and just shout at you guys and let you know that we are in a battle for the truth, right? We don't really know the truth because, again, they're saying that the science is settled. We are looking at the science is not settled. There is a lot that we need to learn about the way we do things. They obviously said that the reason they can safely say that it was not the cloud seeding that occurred right before the flood is because the period or the interval between the flood and the cloud seeding happened too far away. They said 2 days before the flood is not or is too long of a time for the rain to actually produce later on. So they say you really have to, in order to make cloud seeding really work, you really need to spray the sky at least an hour to 30 minutes before a rain. In some cases, even 15 minutes before a rain. And then the silver iodide, that is the solution that they put into the sky along with salt, causes the water vapors to attach to it, and then they become heavy and begin to drop. And they said this cloud seeding that they do was also not in the same area as the flood. And so they said it was not quite in the same area, but they did have cloud seeding going on. And that's the big thing that we need to take away from this. There was cloud seeding. Cloud seeding is weather modification, is what they said. This is a weather modification company called Rainmaker, and the CEO of the company wanted everyone to know that he had nothing to do with it. And so apparently the outcry is because there are a number of people out there who are blaming the CEO of Rainmaker. There might be a lot more people understand what's going on in Texas than we do here in various areas around Texas. There is a company, however, in Texas that is called Rainmaker Technology Corporation. And Augusta Derrico is the CEO of that company. And now I heard him in other testimonies, and I heard him say that he was a Christian. And he also made a statement that God told us to actually take care of the land. And going back to the Garden of Eden, he was saying that in the Garden of Eden, Adam was given the responsibility to have dominion over the entire earth. So all of that is what's going on there. So yeah, it's pretty interesting to see that he's a Christian, but he is doing something that could possibly even change the way the weather is. Now there was another thing that they said. They talked about climate change. And in that talking about climate change, they were making sure that we knew that climate change was something that was occurring over a long period of time. And so it's not like cloud seeding. They're saying climate change occurs over a long period of time and is created by human beings. So this is one of the things they wanted us to know in the news. And that was one of the final, I believe, bits or parts of the interview that the interviewer had with the person who was the other commentator. He was letting us know that climate change is something that happens as a result of us burning coal, us running our cars, us traveling, and all of the activities of human beings, right? And this is one of the things they wanted everyone to know. And so when you hear that, you got to ask yourself the question, is this true or not? Because again, the science is not really settled on climate change. However, under this video, I'm sure that they're going to put that climate change is something that is that is caused by human beings and their activity. And the theory is that by reducing our carbon footprint as human beings, meaning that, stop burning coal, stop, consuming so many goods, and cut down our emissions, carbon emissions, then we will be able to reduce climate change and save the environment. So this is one of the things that is being promoted by all of the large corporations and people who are in Washington, and also people around the world believe that climate change is a result of human activity. And again, the journalist is just going to say what he's going to parrot whatever he has been told to say, because he's a journalist. He's not a scientist. And again, the science is not settled. They are giving us science of today. It could be that 100 years from now, the science that was of today could end up being obsolete, and we will look back on 100 years from now and say, hey, you know, that's really crazy that people believe that human activity created climate change. And it could be that we could actually discover that climate change could be a result of something that naturally occurs every so many 100 years, right? That not radical climate change, but then subtle climate change here and there. A few degrees variation in temperature. And I have heard that before, that there are often climate change things that go on, you know, every so many 100 years, but we're not around to know that it's happening, right? A few degrees varying in temperature, though. They don't really ever say that there was these catastrophic, huge changes in temperature. The only time we ever hear of that kind of thing is in the Bible, when God talks about that he will make the sun so hot that everyone will be scorched on the earth. But of course, that's when the judgment of God comes. So we got to actually look for that. Anyway, you let me know what you think about this. I thought maybe I'll give you my thoughts on this whole thing. And I hope that, again, this has been informative to you. They can control the weather. For those of you who don't know, they do put silver iodide into the sky. They do spray the sky in order to produce an effect. And this is something that they have told us, and it is no longer conspiracy theory. It is out there in the open for everyone to know. So, you know, truth will come out, right? And so we can just praise God for that. At least they are telling us the truth. And, you know, of course, we know about Operation Popeye. Thank you for that and reminder there. Revelation, the Great Unveiling, right? Yeah, we know about Operation Popeye and Vietnam and how they have been controlling the weather anyway. But we're supposed to act like we don't know, right? That's what we're supposed to do until they actually come out with a report like this on the news. Anyway, you let me know what you think about it. Hit the button, the like button. If you believe in climate change, also let me know. If you don't believe in climate change, let me know that. And share the video so that other people can become part of this conversation. And, I'll be looking for your comments. Thank you so much for visiting with me. And God bless. Have a good night.